So, with the Olympic Games in full swing, we're all asking ourselves how to improve the way we race. If on one side we like the science related to sport, on the other we feel that science is not enough. That's why we talk about the art of coaching, and that's why today we are talking about the art of racing. Welcome to Season 2, Episode 12 of our podcast with Coach Joao.
Hello guys.
Coach Alessio.
Hello, buongiorno.
Yes, and they are in Dubai, and Coach Melina from Cyprus.
Hello, morning everyone.
And myself in
on
Italy.
On a beach in Italy.
Yes. And this is Chat with BR Coaches.
Good.
So, race day is the moment when we put all the pieces of the puzzle together. What is the glue to make sure that those pieces stay together? And what are these pieces in order of priority for you guys? If there is any priority in terms of what you should achieve first, or if there is a sequence that you guys like to follow in order to be successful for a race.
So I think if you talk about racing, for sure there are steps that I like to take. I will talk about a few of them and I'll try to cover it. So for me, race selection is very important. For me, the race that you choose has to be like well selected, because that's the beginning of your journey, right? So if you're gonna have time to train, if you're gonna be the right time of the year, if you're gonna have conditions to train for that kind of weather, if the race is hilly or hot or cold, or certain specific aspects of that race. I think when you think about what race you're gonna do and what race you're gonna target, the success of that race is gonna start from, can I be fully prepared for that specific race? Not choose a race because I really like that race, or my friends are going to that race, or everyone's talking about that race. This is one way to do. But if you want to have a proper results and see how good you want to do, you can do. Or if you want to have like let's say a performance, I want to qualify for something, so a more strategic thinking of your performance, then you should be very careful with the race that you select. Mainly thinking of, is it a good race for me to be prepared? I'm gonna have time. Is it the right time family-wise, It's a holiday, it's not a holiday. Who's gonna be with me? Do I have to take my kids? Can I go alone? So all of those details, the planning of a race, they are very important for me when I choose my race and my clients' races. Many things can happen. Everything change, and we learned that a lot this last 1.5 years. But be smart on your race selection is really important. I will stop here and then pass the ball to the guys and see whatever, because there's a lot of things to talk about. But I think I would start with race selection.
I think I agree with what Joao said. Well, not I think. I do agree with what Joao said. A lot of it starts way before the race itself. You've got to get everything right in the lead up to that race to make sure everything comes together. So if you're consistently skipping sessions, if you're not really focused on how you recover during your training, and how you manage your time and your nutrition and all that, you can't just suddenly get it all right and bring it together in 3 weeks before a race. And you think, oh my God, it's race day in 3 weeks. I'm going to make sure everything is ready for that. It has to happen from the moment you decide to do the race to picking your race. Everything is a piece of the puzzle. So the race is just I guess, is like the little cherry on the top. Or you just think of, I don't know, like a big party or something, and you've got all the planning that comes together, and then the party itself is just a celebration. It's the same with the race. So it all starts from day one when you decide to do this race, getting your training, your nutrition, your recovery, everything right. So when it comes to race day, you're a bit more prepared.
If I get it right, it's like a loop in the moment that you decide the race, and then it finishes
Yeah.
with the race. So,
Yeah.
but I like the way you guys are thinking, because in the end, looking at the characteristic of the athlete and the moment that it is in the process, and we are talking about choosing, um, like for example, if you train in Dubai where it's flat, okay, and that's your first race, you want to do a flat race, okay? Or otherwise, you train on the hills, and then you're gonna find in the hills in the race. It's kind of replicating. Otherwise, you cannot access Hatta or Jebel Jais. Can I do hill training on the indoor trainer? Trying to understand also these things, and will make sure that you pick up the correct race. Now, once we go into the performance side, like you said, Joao, then we start looking at athletes like, oh, this race could be good for qualifying for World Championship, or this race, and this is another step, I think, because then you need to have material. You need to have an athlete that effectively can aim to qualify for World Championship, and it's not easy, because it depends on who's showing up on the race. So, what about you, Alessio? What's your first thing that you think about?
I agree with you, coaches, and I follow more or less the same step of Coach Joao. Uh, choose the right race is a very crucial point, and considering the same thing like possibilities of training, like course, family commitment, work commitment to fit well the training sessions the weeks before, and the travel as well. If you go, for example, in US and you have two connections, a long flight, and the race 2 days after, I think it's better avoid. So, like Melina says, the race is just the edge of the iceberg. Below that is a huge amount of work and planning and many stuffs.
I like what you just said, because I was talking to this guy the other day. It's an Italian triathlete, and his concern was about traveling. For him, racing
Yeah,
in Italy was the best because you didn't have to pack the bike. I mean, he was
yeah,
really
exactly.
concerned. I never done it, and it's so stressful for me to think about now going to Dubai or to Bahrain to have a
Yeah,
race. I said, look, for us instead, it's pretty simple. We've been doing that for quite a while. Even if either you race in Dubai or you need to catch a plane to go everywhere. And in Italy, everything is within, let's say, driving distance. So you go to France, you go to Austria, you go to Germany. So you don't have to take a plane to go there. So that at the
I'm
point
jealous.
you drive, and yeah, I know. But now with the restrictions and Green Pass and
Yeah, it's very tough.
yeah, it's very tough. It's very tough. So that these things, like COVID restriction, they add a lot
Yeah,
of stress. Because the
yeah,
guys are keen on racing, but they need to think about getting a PCR before going, PCR there, and masks and stuff. So it's so yeah. So art of racing is not only FTP and pace and heart rate. We can see that there are many things that they pile up, let's say. And so you guys,
Um,
just real quick, speaking from of another topic, you saw the triathlon at the Olympic Games.
yeah.
Apart from the tree suit of
Oh,
Bruford,
Jesus.
okay.
And the women, the Norwegian women had the same one as well. And Spain. Oh,
Yeah.
it was just terrible. But yeah, that aside, yeah. But the start was
Apart
interesting.
apart from the carnival costumes, what do you yeah, what do you think about these athletes in terms of art of racing? How are they on the, let's say, on this Maslow pyramid where art of racing is probably at the top? What do you think?
In terms of organization.
In terms of mastering the art of racing, okay, you've seen them racing,
I
and
think, to be honest, like I think I've seen a lot of situations on that aspect. I've seen like pros, top athletes that they still don't organize very well their trip, and they rely a lot on logistics of federations, and they expect things to just happen for them. But from the other side, I've seen like the ones that they take full control of the preparation. They get there with everything sorted. I mean, these guys now, the top 20, they've been traveling for the past 20 years everywhere for many distances, so it's pretty simple for them. But still, few things they can surprise you. You know, like you expect the breakfast in the hotel to be a certain way, and maybe you thought it's gonna be, and it's not. So you don't have your food. Um, the big teams, they probably have nutrition and everything is pre-planned, but few things in that level, they make more difference than anything, right? So logistics, transiting from one place to the other, if you're gonna get late, if you're gonna get on time, what kind of food you're gonna eat, if you're gonna have access to training facilities or not. um, when we travel for the Asia championship, was really nice to see the organization of the events. You know, like you get the full calendar of the training sessions, what time UAE could have a pool, what time UAE could have a bike, a gym. So everything was preset. You know, it's very clear. When you talk about the age group, I think that's a good topic for sure, because there is nothing pre-planned, right? So you don't know the hotel, what food, if you're gonna have a bike service. So I think, so you're saying that the art of racing actually is not only the training, but I see 80% of the races, they go wrong in the last week. You know, I think people think that the job is done and they forget the little details of the last week where
Yeah.
they make a lot of difference, right? What do you guys think?
No, I mean, I agree. If I think back to any of the races I've done abroad, yeah, the last week is pretty much all about the logistics. And then there's the whole stress of, but I still have some training I need to do. Am I going to be able to do it? Where am I going to do it? And, you know, and all that stuff. And I think the more prepared you are for that. So if it's a race you've done for the first, you're about to do for the first time, the more research you do about how it's set up, or ask other people who have done it, so they can help you. Because yeah, otherwise that's where it's gonna fall down, and that's just gonna add to your stress. I think the other factor that we can talk about with age groupers, for example, especially is, for example, in Dubai, we, like you say, we travel a lot to events. We tend to try and do it during the summer, and some of us, or some people, try and combine it with a family vacation or all that kind of stuff. The impact of having your family there can be really good at the finish line, but in the lead up to the race, having other people that you need to look after or you need to worry about does detract away from what you're trying to do. So it is something else. It does sound very selfish in a way, but it is something that you do need to consider, I think.
A technique that I used on this, and now we give some news to our athletes. There is no training in the week that you are approaching the race. There is no training. that's not training. You know, you don't have to do 90 kilometers of the cycle track. I think unless you did it once,
Yeah.
but yeah, okay, I remember that. So, but a technique that I use every time I race and I bring my family is to find a day where I brief them, and I said, okay, this is what's gonna happen. Okay, I need to do this. If you don't see me, it's not
Fine.
impersonal. Okay, it's something that
Yeah.
is gonna happen because otherwise they will see you like a crazy person.
Yeah.
So you're gonna behave in a way that you're mumbling stuff, and you're thinking about your sequence, your checklist, and everything, and you don't want anybody to be part of it.
Distract
You're
from that.
just doing it,
Yeah.
and you brief them. You say that, look, this is what's gonna happen. Now they can accept it for quite a few times, or they may say it's okay, you can go by yourself. All right, guys. So we are launching at BR a new service, which is strength training using True Coach platform. Okay, so something different. If you guys are traveling, you cannot bring your bike, or you do normal triathlon training, or you just have to do some PT, then you can bring your coach with you, not in a physical way, but using this app where you will find your personalized plan and all your activities. Okay, contact BR Performance Studios for your personalized plan to take it with you when you travel and you forget your beloved bike. 30 seconds break.
In order to take you to the next level, we have to know two basic metrics, which is where you are now, your base level, and where you are going, your final goal. For this reason, we create a system called BR stages. The BR stages consist in 4 levels. Number 1, fundamentals. Number 2, skills. Number 3, performance. And finally, specialization.
And we're back with Chat with BR
Right.
Coaches. I think you guys have read the book How Bad You Want It, and you know that some athletes have a little bit more magic inside the others, or a little bit more art. So, but when we talk about a perfect race, we don't talk to our athletes about a perfect win, because not everybody can win. So we talk about executing the best race you can have, and I feel that from a coaching point of view, especially for age group athletes, this is a winning attitude already. When you tell them, don't aim for the podium because we don't know. Don't aim for top 10 or top 20 or for the world championship, but you say aim for your best race, aim for what you can achieve for what you have done before. What do you think, guys?
I think that's fairly. It's a very sensible approach to have, because at the end of the day, you can only control what you do. You can only control your race. If things go bad in your race, you can only control how you react to them and how you fix them. But you have no control over your competitors. So if you have a great day and they have an amazing day, you may just pip them to the post. And I mean, watching the Olympics now, okay, it's a very different arena, but there's something to be said that when you break the world record but you still come third, for example, and there's 2 other people that break the world record ahead of you, there's nothing you can do about those 2. So if you can just focus on yourself, it's the best way forward. And you literally just focus on what you're doing at the time. So in a triathlon sense, don't stress about the run when you're at the start line. You can't get to the run until you've swam and you've biked. So if you're about to be swimming, just focus on your swim. Once you get on the bike, it doesn't matter what happened in the swim. You may have had a really bad swim, for example. It's done now. Focus on what you're doing right now. Otherwise, you can spend a long time on the bike stewing over happened on the swim. So as long as you focus on what you're doing at that particular time, in terms of, I don't know, whatever your race plan is, and then if that happens to lead to a podium, for example, if that's what you're chasing, then that's a bonus, because ultimately, like I said, you've got no control of somebody else's race day, really. How about you guys? What do you think?
Let's think. What do you
Yeah.
think of this?
Like you, Tommaso, said, only one is the winner against maybe hundreds of competitors. So it's very hard to get the win, and sometimes the little details make the differences. So I personally split in two groups the athlete that I coach. The one that used to win, of course, the aim is winning, do the best, give everything, and the aim is win or get the podium, because the athlete knows how to do it. So the athletes used to win, that practice very well with winning and victories, have this aim. The other, I said, do everything, all the best you think, so good performance, and the result is a consequence. So you are well prepared, nothing to be afraid, go and smash the race. Then if you win or not is simple to solve.
Yeah,
It's a
Looks
very,
looks simple, but
it's a very
it's not
interesting-
simple, but
yeah.
it's very.
I like that. It's a very interesting way to think, because you have people that they join triathlon, but they were winners in different sports. So they move into triathlon with that competitive mindset. And, these guys, they're always going to be looking for performance. It doesn't matter if you tell them, this is new for you. You have to wait a little bit. You're not there yet. There's a lot of people that they think the game before you, but they move into with the very competitive mindset. So it's very hard to hold them back from push to get to the top 5, 3, 1 of the race. And then you have the others that they are really working for the time, like they really want to cut 10 minutes, 30 minutes, 20 minutes in each race, if it's a half Ironman or Olympic or whatever. So they were working for the time. The victory is a different approach for them, because if they do a PB, best performance time, they will be happy, maybe happier than the winner, because sometimes even if you win, you don't feel you perform very well. But for me, I think a guy, for example, that is working, training for top 5, top 3, as soon the race starts, you have to think on the podium. You cannot just think of, I just going to do my best. This is not going to work for the top 3, top 5, especially the half Ironman. It's not going to work, because you have to enter on the race mode from the minute you enter the water. It's a race for these guys. And you can ask Alessio, you can ask everyone that race for the podium, for the top 3. It's a race. So you are constantly thinking of how you're doing, but constantly thinking of the podium as well. There is no time to maybe I just gonna see my performance. Of course, you are doing it for yourself, but the mind has to be on the podium, because then you do the extra push. These days, you don't know where the other guys are. You don't know the splits anymore. You're not racing with them at the same time, so you have to keep constantly doing your best, and not sure if it's enough, because you don't know the times of the other guys. When I was in Malaysia, I finished the bike. The race that I qualified to Kona, I finished the bike, and my friend said, "You were 17 on the age group." So I'm like, 17? That doesn't make sense, but okay, I'm 17. That's really bad, but I want to qualify to Kona. I'm 17. So what I done was, like, I'm 17, you know what? Just run as fast as you can this marathon. And then at the end, you're going to have a good marathon. So I ran 4:20. Malaysia, because I was relaxed. And then I passed the 21K, and my wife said, "You were third." So, actually, she gave the time of the bike for me, not the position, the first person. So you see how the mind play. And then when I realized I was third, everything fell apart. Like, oh my God, now I cannot do any mistake here. So when you are competing, I think you have to put yourself under that pressure, because it is important to feel the tension of the race. Many beginners, they don't feel that adrenaline of the race. And I think it's very important for them to start to feel the performance as well. But still focus on the training plan and the race plan. I think Thomas
I think
is.
the sun is coming up yet. That's part of the art of racing. We said it already, and at every level, either you're a top performer or you're an age group, you're a beginner. At every level, it's about mastering this art because there are so many components, like the mind, the mindset. And I think what Matt Fitzgerald is saying in the book, How Bad You Want It, is applicable to everybody, because in the end, for the top performer, he's chasing the result, but for the age grouper, he's chasing the best performance. And once again, it doesn't happen one day through the other. It's an experience. It's the journey. It's the continuous practice in the things. Now, as coaches, we can come in to help, and because we have experience a little bit more or a little bit less, we can always try to transfer this process that it's not simple. Using the art of coaching as well, because as we said before, also in the art of coaching there is a lot of art, there is a lot of science, but there is also a lot of understanding, a lot of practicing, a lot of let's say something a little bit more metaphysic, much more spiritual that that no.
Yeah.
That's what I like. That's what I like. That's what I like to think. Okay, don't disagree with me.
No, I agree with you. I always agree with you, Commander.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
But on that aspect,
Yeah,
I
go
don't know.
ahead.
You need. Okay, so I want to see the guys here, because for me, we got a lot of questions. For example, I'm sure Medina and Alessio and you, your guys, they always come to you like. It's funny because we've been training them, let's say 16 weeks for a certain race, and you go there on Training Peaks and you say race pace something, and then you set the zone.
What's
right?
that?
So no, so that's one thing, and then the other thing is, so let's say you did 8 weeks of race pace training, and then the week of the race, so the zone is the same from the last 8 weeks. It didn't change. And then the last week before the race, what they asked you, what pace should they race? Man. So, it's funny because you've been doing the same training, right, on the race pace zone and I'm sure they're going to listen to me and they're going to talk to me today. But you've been doing the 8 weeks training block of race pace, and it's this zone to that zone. Boom. So now you have a race. The logic thinking is, my race pace zone is the one that I've been training 8 weeks, right? Because why is it going to change now? There's no miracle. You're not going to go higher or lower because race pace is a race pace. Now, our job is to make them understand that on that race pace zone, there are plan A, B, C. You set up 2 variations of the plan, and the things that you don't do, right? So you don't stay too long in the zone 4, 5. You have some risks to take, but not too much. And then I want to hear from the guys, like how they manage that situation. I think it's very important. The art of racing comes to the pre-race, as we spoke before, and then now, let's say the race time. The plan of the race. Tommaso is the cooker, the master of the plan. Yeah, but I don't know, Melina, what do you think? Or you, Tommaso? I don't know.
No, I mean, you know what I do. I write a plan like 10 days before, and there is nothing new in the briefing. It's just putting things in order in the sequence that they're gonna see them happening. So from the breakfast, from the wake up call, and I said to them, you have been waking up 3-4 hours before your long ride, yes or no? Yes, okay. So that's what's gonna happen. So it's rehearsal of race day at a certain point for many weeks. And as you said, the pace, that one is the pace. We are not inventing anything. The zones, we're not inventing anything at that point because we don't change things.
I think the only allowance you kind of have to make, and I'm sure it's something we all discuss with our athletes, is the weather. Especially, like Dubai is ridiculously hot right now. If you're going to go and race in cooler temperature, or if it's going to be the reverse, you have to take into account the impact of race day weather on your performance. So for example, we have, and I've seen that happen in the past, people are very set on the power output that they want to hit on the bike. And they will stick to that power number no matter what. But if it's a slightly hotter day or anything like that, that means for that power number, your heart rate, whereas say it should be there, your heart rate's gone there. The fact that your heart rate's gone there, that's going to come back to get you when you hit the run. So things like that are relatively last minute adjustments, but there's also the aspect of the athletes do have to take they have to take ownership. It's their race. We can help them get to the start line. What do you know? We can help them get to the start line, but getting to the finish line is down to them. I can't run their race for them, and they really do have to take some ownership of that. So and one thing that as much as the data is very important, I think it's equally as important. The athletes have really got to know their bodies. They know that, zone 3 feels like this, because what happens if you lose your watch or your Garmin doesn't work or something like that? And you have athletes that completely freeze when they've lost the numbers and they don't know what to do. You've got to be able to read your body and you've got to be able to adjust. So yeah, whilst I fully agree with the set plan, and the plan isn't just for race day, the plan really kind of goes in the last week, your nutrition, your sleep, your everything that you do, making sure your bike's okay, all that kind of stuff. They do really need to take ownership of race day and be able to adjust and make the call that, do you know what, today this isn't quite where I can be, and adjust, or if they can push and kind of take it from there, if that makes sense.
Yep, I think we have few athletes that they are racing Astana in the next 15 days. So, Joao spoke about, you guys spoke about the heat and everything. So guys most of our guys are training in the heat now, and they are expecting a race in Astana that is not gonna be that hot. But on the other hand, they will have, for example, to use the wetsuit for the swim. So what's the advice there for them? Because you have a couple of guys that said, "Oh, we just received the wetsuit, and now where can we practice?"
I'm sending them to the pool.
Yeah.
So and I asked the guys already to put the wetsuit, go to Hamdan, go to any pool. At least the material of the wetsuit gets a bit tight. So if it's a new one, it's very tight, and if you don't use for a few months, it gets really tight. It's just a material, so you need to stretch a little bit to get the form of your shoulders again. Otherwise, you're gonna feel that you cannot swim. That's the feeling of a tight wetsuit. You cannot swim, and it's a bad feeling because there's a lot of over pushing to keep moving with a tight wetsuit. You breathe your lungs, they cannot expand because they are inside of a very tight material, and then the heart rate goes up. And usually people have that feeling of having a panic attack in the water because actually the heart rate and the lungs, they don't have enough space to move, and then they feel that they cannot breathe. You know, you see people like lying down the back and trying to open here. It's literally because the material of the wetsuit is so tight that the lungs, they don't have space. You know, it's you trying to breathe in a very tight jacket. Let's say you cannot do. Yeah. It's a bad feeling, and they feel mentally the brain gives them the trick that you might like die because you cannot breathe. You know, that's how they think. Yeah. So it's very important to get this right. You know, this, for example, this detail can damage a beautiful preparation because the guy might delay 10, 15 minutes on the swim, and he can play with his head. You know, if the guy is not experienced, he finished the swim feeling so bad that he might think everything he's done was not enough. You know, then the bike is already a problem. He overworked the swim, he got a cramp, the nutrition, and you can see things falling apart, you know, like step by step. I want to see with a lesson because for me, I don't remember a race that I didn't have to change my plan. Like during the race, I don't remember a race that I was like, wow, everything that I thought, it went like this. Maybe Dubai here, the first time I did, it was the opposite because I thought I was doing a bad race and it was a bad race. So that was a good one. But all of the race that I did, I had to change few things, you know, like sometimes many things. Like or slow down the bike to go harder to run. So I don't know, you know, that's what Melina said. I think it's so important to teach them how to adjust things, you know. I'm not there, you know, there's no headset. I cannot teach them, you know, like, so what do you think about that?
That's why I work more on perceived effort than heart rate or power. So if you feel too tired or you cannot push that day the power planet, is stupid be stick to the plan. So replan, read inside yourself and go with your perceived effort. So the race usually is very, very long. Many kilometers I have to do. So
and this also will help the athletes. This also will help the athletes that Melina was talking about, and if they lose the watch, now they're done. You know, that's you know, just go by feeling because you have been practicing this for a long time.
I tried everything. So. I lost the watch, the nutrition. I lost everything. So.
You know you can do it. You know you can do it. But some athletes they haven't tried it, so it's one of those variables that they haven't tried it sometimes. So it's sometimes good that okay, today turn off the computer or put it blank and just go for it and see. And see. We're gonna review the data after your workout. You know, that could be an interesting thing. Still speaking about Astana because that's incoming. And maybe our athletes want to know more. As you said, practice on the wetsuit. Find a pool that has the lowest temperature. We know that in Dubai, Hamdan complex is the one that probably you want to pick for this purpose. You wouldn't go on outdoor pool. Another thing, if you haven't been using a wetsuit for a long time, or if you've never been using a wetsuit, chafing and using these products to lube the neck and everything, because you see guys coming out of the water, they have the color of blood, and it's like, what happened there? But it's just maybe because the material is still tight and needs a little bit of let's say, you know, operation there. What else do we? Yeah.
Like on that topic, for example, like what I like to do sometimes is to do like a quick feedback when I'm doing a more preparation for something important, like a quick feedback on the long sessions, what things I felt, you know, like for example, sometimes you're doing a 5 hours bike or whatever, and then you feel like your left foot, you have a little bit of scratch there, but because it's the training, you kind of, it's okay, I can manage. And then the next session you do the same, you feel the same. The next session you feel the same, and you don't fix that thing, right? Now imagine you're doing a 5 hours bike in an Ironman, 5 hours, 6 hours, and then you have a 42K marathon to run. That scratch can become a blister. That blister can stop you to run and can make you walk for 5 kilometers. If you walk 5 kilometers, your race is 1 hour longer than should be, right? So now, because you didn't take care of that blister, 5 sessions that you could, because you didn't pay attention, that blister can really damage all your effort, all the investment that you took, the time that with your family and everything else. This is another thing, like art of racing comes to the details, what Alessio said. Details, they are details. Details, they are details. They are small things. They are little things that they're going to have a big impact if you are 13, 14, 15, 12, 8 hours outside exposed to the environment. The blister can stop you to run. The shave in the neck can hurt you really bad when you're sweating, right? If you're in the bike position, if you're here and that kid scratch here, you're gonna have a problem. So Tommaso knows that what I like to do, I remove all the inner sole of my bike shoes, so my feet get a bit used to the pain, So these little things you need to find a way. Don't go to the extreme, it's wrong. But you find the ways to prepare yourself because it's gonna hurt.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's gonna hurt. Melina
You need to.
knows.
Yeah. No, I mean, one of the other things I've done myself, and I've recommended to anyone I've worked with as well, is even if always find out what the on-course nutrition is, and whether you plan on using it or not, buy some and try it. Because if you're planning on supplying yourself with all the nutrition that you're going to need in a race, what happens if you lose it? You've got to be confident enough to say, okay, I'm going to get to the aid station. It's not ideal, but I know my stomach can cope with it. I mean, there's nothing, anybody who's had any GI issues, they're not pleasant. Runs on the run it's no fun. So you've got to be confident that if anything happens and you lose your nutrition, that what's available is going to work for you. So even if you have your plan and you're going to use this particular product, you should still find out what they're going to supply on the race, buy some and try it. So you kind of know where you stand on it. And obviously I'm the only female coach here. For the female athletes, there's obviously other issues they need to think about in terms of when a race might be, if it's on a particular day of the month, how they're going to cope, with all that, how they're going to manage that. I guess if any female athlete is very regular in their cycle, and at different points in your cycle, you're able to perform better, then going back to what Joao said about picking a race, you pick a race at a time that's going to be better for you. So there's that added layer for the female athletes.
That's really important.
That's a great insight, Melina, because we were
Thanks.
thinking about everything around it, but it's.
If it takes you in the wrong day, we see the impact. We see people, our athletes, they complain, they ask to don't train. You see the headache, the stomach pain. So
yeah,
you cannot do an Ironman,
And all, like, not all. So not to kind of stick the subject to this thing, but not every female athlete is regular. Not every female athlete can say, on this day of the month, this is when I'm going to start. So you have, like, I mean, I've had my first full Ironman at Challenge Roth, happened to be in the time of the month, and like it was like, oh my God, I'm not sure I can do this on this day. So I think it's important. So many female athletes can sometimes say, I'm not going to train for these 3 days now. And whilst I do get that point, especially if you're not regular, you really do have to figure out a way to train through it. So if it happens on race day, you know what to do. So
yeah,
Guys, still on nutrition for the guys going to Astana, go in the athlete guide and you will find the products that they are using.
Yeah.
If there is any doubt, send them an email because they're very proactive on this so that you know the products that you will find. Speaking of fuel, this is a service advertisement. We are launching at BR the fuel station. So basically, if you guys need your fuel package for your training or for your racing, we can have it delivered during Classic Tuesdays. And we are partnered with the sponsor with the secret training for your fueling and nutrition. We take 30 seconds break and then we come back.
Usually when a person is stressed and they're trying to work on healthier habits, and that's what happens to most of us, is we try to work on healthier habits, but we have certain internal stressors that prevent us from developing those good habits. So we get stressed, and then we stop. So my job is to intervene right at the point where they start and where they stop, so they can continue. So I'm giving them the power and the tools to continue to build these healthy habits long term.
All right, back with the chat with BR coaches. We mentioned already that if coaching becomes an art, it's a natural consequence that the art floods into racing. Joao has spoken about this so many times. Adaptation, he spoke just before. Adaptation is the key to overcome what life and in our discussion today, competitions throw at humans. So uncontrolled and uncontrollable variables make racing an art because we go beyond what the target power is that day. As Alessio said, go by feeling sometimes. Can we train adaptation? Is there a way that we can make the art of racing 1% better every day?
Yes, that's all about preparation. It's just making sure the more you can be on autopilot, the better. And it comes down to knowing exactly where you have to be and when. Like on race day, what time does transition open? What are you allowed to do? Can you get to your bags on that day, or would you have had to prepare them the day before? Making sure your nutrition's okay. Check your tire pressure. If it's a hot race, you might want to deflate them a little bit when you check the bike in the day before. Just all that kind of stuff. And there was a really interesting, so just to kind of touch up on the Olympics, for example, and the races at the moment. There was a really interesting commentary from from Gwen Jorgensen saying that the way the athletes line up on the pontoon to start actually can have quite an impact on how well they swim. Okay, it's not necessarily something that an age group athlete would have to deal with, but I mean that's a minor detail in a 2-hour race. Where you stand on a 50-meter platform can affect your swim, and then by default affect everything else. So it all comes to the detail, knowing where you're going to go, knowing the course well. You can't just assume I'm just going to follow the faster guys and hope they're going to go the right way. What if they go the wrong way? What if you're the faster person there? So you're going to have to make sure you go the right way. So I think it all just comes down to preparation.
Where do they get this information? Where do they get this information, Melina?
That's all going to come from the race briefing, the athlete guide, and no matter how many races you've done, you should never skip that process. And we have seen it in the past where the race situation might change last minute. So the athlete guide gets published or posted out like maybe a week before. The final athlete guide will be about a week before, but there might be some changes to it. You're only going to find those out at the briefing. So go to the briefing or log in online if it's an online briefing and just ask questions. You might think it's a silly question, but if it's something that's bugging you, just ask the question. Don't rely on another athlete's perspective to tell you what's gonna happen.
Very quick one, so don't go too long, but I think adaptation is a mindset, right? So I think that can you train adaptation? You cannot train for every situation that can happen. It's impossible. You don't know because you need to adapt. But I think, like Melina said, you kind of open your mind for things that they can go wrong, and you have to keep going, because Ironman is it's about you start here, you get to the other point. This is triathlon. You need to cross, right? It's a race that you need to go from A to B. How you go there, it's up to you. You go fast, you go slow, you go smiling or crying. It's up to you. It's up to the moment. But you adapt. It's a trip, right? So if you have a car and you go from Dubai to Abu Dhabi, and then in the middle you realize you're hungry, you need to stop and eat, right? So why in the race, when you feel things, you're not going to change and adapt? I think it's a huge mistake. Because you want to be faster or slow, I don't know. So it's adaptation. You need to feel, and you have to be very conscious of what your body is telling you at the moment, and react. React very quick. If you are feeling something, you have to do something, because it's a snowball in an Ironman. The little thing that you feel now, later after 3-4 hours, it's going to be 3-4 times more, and it can stop you. So adaptation is a mindset. You have to be open and flexible.
I think we nailed at least 50% of what we wanted to talk about today, because this topic is huge, and probably we'll have a part 2 of the art of racing. So we're gonna conclude our episode, but I will leave you with some lines, okay, that I've read from a book that I read a few days ago from Alex Bellini, called Oltre, Beyond. And I think that this paragraph is quite illuminating. I will translate it because it's in Italian, so there is no English version yet. And he says, it's not the real skills which determine the self-efficacy levels. So when you basically are talking to yourself and try to self-motivate you, basically. And his approach is for sport, mainly, for life, but also for sport. But the appreciation on what we can do with those skills. So it's a way of saying, look, you need to become aware of where you are and what your skills are. And sometimes it's not just using the skills, but try to reason in a way that you need to consolidate your approach, as you said. That adaptation, it's an approach that day by day you're gonna build, and day by day it's not related only to the skill, only to the science, but it's related also to the mainly to the mindset, and this is the way that you grow as an athlete, that you grow as a human in your life. Okay. All right. Long story short, this is the first part. We'll see when we can go in the second part. Okay, guys, I will see you soon. Okay, take care.
Cool. Have a good day, you guys.
Take care. Bye.
See ya. Bye.